Most product brands dream of being stocked in the largest pharmacy chain in a country or in flagship department stores like Nordstrom. Today's guest, Alisha Athreya, has done it not once, but twice. And so I brought her on the show to tell you how. Welcome to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast, where we talk about solutions that you can put into your retail or e-commerce store that will make you money. And welcome to the show, Alisha. I cannot believe that just before we started recording this, you went, "Oh, I did it again."
Well, thank you for having me, Selena. And yes, we did do it again. I was so excited for this conversation with you to give you more updates on what we've been working on behind the scenes.
So tell us about who these brands are. You've got not one, but two brands that are now stocked in major stores. And I want to dig in to how you have done it.
Okay, where would you like to start? Which one?
Oh, okay. Which one came first?
So KURVWEAR started about, we're going into, I think, nearly 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, the brand started off very small. We got into Nordstrom first, but that was at a time where we really had $200, $300 of e-com revenue. But it was kind of just down to, we had a buyer come and purchase or see our products on TikTok. And at the time, it was interesting because I was only getting like 500 views on our TikTok posts. So I guess it really comes down to you never know who's watching. And through that, turns out one of my connections in America, he knew a few of the buying teams, or at least he knew where the head office for Nordstrom was. So we ended up doing some crazy things just to get their attention after that initial email, because once they emailed, I guess they saw that, oh, these guys are pretty small. We're not really established yet. So we ended up doing things like sending them cakes or sending them, like I sent them one shoe in a shoebox. And then I put a note to it and I said, listen, I'm just trying to get my foot in the door, please.
You are the queen of glossing over all of the details and really like underestimating all of the things you did. So I'm going to dig into this conversation, because here is what, in 30 seconds, you've told us that you created a brand. You created a brand which you told me was a startup. And then because I went to the website and I was like, how is this brand a startup? Because KURVWEAR has a beautiful brand. It has a beautiful website. And I thought this was a global entity when I went there. Then you just gloss over the fact that, we were on TikTok and Nordstrom just reached out to us. Like, the fact that you showed up when you were only getting 500 views is just a testament to everything that you've built. So can we just take 5 seconds to give yourself credit, because you do not give yourself enough credit for all the work that you've done, girl.
Thank you, Selena. I probably needed that. I needed to hear that today, I'll be honest.
Okay, so I'm not going to let you gloss over this. Tell us about what happened. How you said Nordstrom reached out on TikTok. Just walk us through that.
Well, it wasn't Nordstrom as like their company account or something. It was one of their buyers that saw the product and everything. And at the time, like, she reached out on just wanting to purchase for herself and, just like a normal customer. But then at the time, again, we only had a few $100s in sales. So it was kind of like, oh my God, every customer that came through, I was so curious about them. I was looking them up, doing my little stalking. And after that, I looked her up and I realized she was a buyer for Nordstrom. And then we found out their head office address. And then I would send her stuff, like send her cakes. Like I said, send her like one shoe and a shoebox, basically, just saying, hey, please let me get my foot in the door. What else did we do? We sent flowers, found out when her birthday is, but sent just things, just trying to get her attention, like show her that we're legit. I guess from a retailer's perspective, they do want to work with brands. Yes, you need to have a competitive advantage or some sort of differentiating factor with the rest of their category. But you also need to have, I guess, proof of product and a viable, like somewhat of traction within the market in order for you to get onto them. And that is very hard to do as a small brand, especially the traction part, especially in today's e-commerce world where there's so many buyers, so many sellers, and you always have a different option. Buyers always have someone else to go to. So it was definitely kind of, like you mentioned, glossing over and winning them over as well a little bit, but a charm. But at the same time, it was strategic and we did have to pitch them. I did make a pitch deck, and bear in mind, this was probably the first pitch deck I ever made. I had no clue how to make a retail pitch deck.
How did you make a retail pitch deck with no clue?
At Google. Just like everything else. Like when I started the brand, but going back to before we even launched, when I had the idea for it, didn't know anything about manufacturing, production, fashion. Well, I did know a little bit about fashion just from my interest in it, but I didn't really know how to sew or anything. And I knew that in order to give our customers the best experience or the best product, as a founder, I do need to be very hands-on with that aspect rather than just outsourcing it or delegating it to the manufacturing team or to the manufacturers, to sample makers. It was something that I had to be very close at touch point with. So I learned how to sew. I looked up YouTube tutorials and I was just learning how to sew from YouTube, used my mum's old sewing machine. It was half broken, but she really helped me out by letting me use that. And yeah, bought random fabric, taught myself how to sew. I made about 37 prototypes of our bra, which is our hero product, and figured out the padding. The padding that we made, it was made out of construction foam from Bunnings, because at the time I feel like I'm going on a couple different tangents.
You are. I'm going to pull you back and say, I'm going to ask you the question. You were just on such a roll there that I had to let you talk. First of all, what is KURVWEAR?
KURVWEAR is a fashion technology brand, and essentially what we do is we make garment, fabric, padding, and shapewear technologies, and then we build them into dresses or clothing or garments. So what the business started off as a shapewear brand, where we first started with our hero product, which is our butt bra. And this product was created as a safe alternative to plastic surgery. For example, the BBL, which is the Brazilian butt lift. This is a surgery that one of my friends had gone through and she was hospitalized from and she was botched from. And seeing her in hospital, it made me wonder and realize, like, why are we as women going through these dangerous procedures and, you know, all of these things just to kind of, I guess, feel beautiful based on what society tells us is beautiful. And
I'm just going to jump in and say, and it's what society is telling us that we're beautiful at the time. Like, it can change so quickly. And like you said, the concept of undergoing plastic surgery for something that may not be in fashion in a couple of months' time, but you're left with for the rest of your life, and everyone has their own body choice. But in my mind, it's not like getting a bit of Botox, which is going to, you know, disappear after a while. You are undergoing major surgery that you are stuck with for the rest of your life. And your friend went through this and ended up hospitalized because it all went wrong.
Mm-hmm. So she, just like everyone else at the time, I think the whole curvy body that was trending, and this was during the pandemic time, people didn't have access to gyms and things like this. So there was a massive spike. When we look at the trends, there was a massive spike in the amount of people getting plastic surgery because they wanted to feel like themselves and feel good and look good instantly. And because gyms and all these facilities weren't open, as soon as we were allowed outside, the first place they went was to get some sort of procedure done. And so there's a massive spike in plastic surgery. And that's part of why my friend did it as well. She saw all the body trends and what being beautiful was at the time, being really curvy and having a specific body type. But this body type that was trending, it wasn't necessarily naturally achievable for most women because it's very exaggerated curves.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she did it out of pressure. She did it out of wanting to fit into the societal norm or societal beauty standard. And she did. And unfortunately, that surgery also has the highest fatality and complication rate. So seeing her be part of that statistic, it made me sad. And seeing her on the hospital bed suffering also made me sad. It made me just want to create a solution for her. It didn't even start out as an idea that I'm going to turn this into a business. It was more so just, I guess, anger from my end. I was just angry.
And just wanting to help her.
Yeah. Like when you care about someone, you don't want to see them in situations like that, right?
No.
And I was just really angry, and I'm a very curious person. My mind goes everywhere. So I was angry and I was curious, and those two come together, and it ended up with me staying up at 2, 3 a.m. on my mum's sewing machine, really irritating my parents' sleep and ruining their nights. But that's that's how it ended up. But as I got, because I didn't have anyone else at the time, as I got from prototype to prototype, it slowly came together and I understood how the entire structure could be built. And at the time, nothing like this was in market. There was traditional shapewear, which is, something that we've all know and we've had around for years. But the traditional shapewear, the way that it's structured and built is it's just one plain piece of fabric and one garment that is designed to compress and make you look as skinny as possible. Again, traditional shapewear was built and invented at a time, early 2000s, when being as skinny as possible was the trend. It was Victoria's Secret, size 0, eating disorders. Like, these were what was in trend at that time.
And the scary thing is that is coming back. I'm seeing it at my brain hurts how we've gone from embracing beauty, and all of a sudden in these last few months, I'm seeing a lot of that heroin chic back in the models, which is, and like we were saying, it's this ideal that we have to fit into somebody else's decision on what society should look like. It's not right. It's not right.
It's definitely not right. And I guess that's the mission of KURVWEAR. It's to tell people that, listen, our bodies aren't handbags. As women, we can't go from being BBL, really curvy, to then being size 0 skinny. It's like, instead of trying to fit into these different molds that society or the beauty standards at the time are telling us to look like, why don't we figure out what beauty looks like at a more personal level to us? And for every woman, that just involves supporting them where they need it and providing a little bit of enhancement where they don't. It's literally what we do at KURVWEAR is we think like a push-up bra, but then into every garment that you wear. That's it. Like,
it's amazing.
Everyone loves push-up bras. Like,
yeah. And everyone loves shapewear. So you just put the two of them together.
And it's a very technical product. I can't get into too many details, but that's essentially the concept. And we've made a massive difference in people's lives, and had so many people, I guess, not going through that surgery route because of our products. And I think that's the most precious win that we could have had, because that's the whole mission behind the brand. Yeah.
And is your friend okay now?
She's okay now, which, God bless. But I don't know. I think she realizes and she looks back, because at the time she was about 18 years old. And when we're 18, we make some questionable choices, but she completely recognizes and she understands what, for example, we're building at KURVWEAR, and she's number one supporter and always kind of rooting for what we're building. So that's great.
That's fabulous. Now, if we can go back to the Nordstrom story, and the reason I'm doing this is because I want to segue into the fact that you did all of this all over again. So they haven't reached out on TikTok. You have, bearing in mind, you're in Australia, and I'm guessing the Nordstrom buyer was in America. So already right up the front, you were shipping internationally. So love that. Kudos to you. So you've shipped this out. You've done a bit of cyber stalking on your person and realized who it is that she is. Was it a strategic decision that you made, or did you have a PR firm? How did you go on this next tangent of let's try and butter this lady up and see if we can get a foot in the door?
Okay, so first, I was living in New Zealand at the time. I only moved to Australia a couple years ago. I was living in New Zealand at the time and with my family, and no PR firm. Well, honestly speaking, couldn't afford it. That was just the simple.
You said at the time you only had a couple $100 in sales.
Yeah, not even a couple $100 in sales. I was, in my early 20s. I was in my last year of university. So during the day, my schedule looked like, during the entire day, it's uni work, all these things. And then I had a part-time job. And this part-time job was purely, every single dollar from that was going towards samples and how to pay for KURVWEAR. And then I also taught myself how to trade, so futures, crypto, like all these things, just so I could make money for KURVWEAR. So I was really tight on cash. So no PR firm, could not afford it. It was all purely just creativity and just trying to get people's attention. That was really it.
Did it ever occur to you at any point that if they put an order in, you wouldn't be able to fulfill it?
I think the thing with me, and I think you'll see as we get more into this conversation, even with Don't Eat My Candle, I like to jump before I know I'm ready for it.
Mhm.
And I like to just know that I'll figure out how to build the wings on the way down. At the time, did I even think they were going to say yes? Absolutely not. But then they did. And then I figured out the inventory piece after that. And we didn't disappoint them. I mean, I made it work. I had a fair idea of how I could solve that. I did negotiate with manufacturers because, especially the people that I was working with at the time, like it is a very specialized product. And they were more than happy, and I negotiated that we'll do very small batches. So these sorts of negotiations and relationship building really goes a long way, and just kind of expressing to the people that you're working with that, okay, this is what we can do right now, but I want to grow with you, and showing how you can also add value to your partners and grow their business with your business, that definitely went a long way.
What I'm hearing, though, that you're not saying is, even if you weren't aware of it at the time, is you were being very strategic. You went after the buyer, but then you also did the work in the background, was like, if this works out, I need to be able to get the stock. So I think you underestimate just how strategic this has all been. And look, it's all paying off. So congratulations. Now, you just mentioned Don't Eat My Candle. Tell us about that business.
Yes. So back to the strategic part. It was very strategic, but again, with strategy, hope is not a strategy. So when I do say, like, jumping off a cliff, figuring out how to build the wings on the way down, I'm not hoping that the wings come out.
No, but you had the plan in place. It's not like you were building the wings on the way down. You had everything all laid out.
Yeah. So
That you could build it as you.
But then I knew that, okay, these are the things like step I can do to get there.
Yeah.
But did I know that they were going to say yes? Absolutely not. Because at the time, I also reached out to Saks and Neiman's and all of them, because just off the Nordstrom, traction. And they all said, oh, give us give us a little bit. We'll get back to you, et cetera, et cetera. At the time, I also reached out to our Australian market, David Jones, Meyer, et cetera. And they thought the product was too niche, or that it wasn't serving a more wider community. So yes, we had the yes from Nordstrom, but I also had so many no's, and so many people that I pitched and they just said, or no, or they just wouldn't even give me the time of day, or wouldn't even respond to the email, which I guess it happens. And if anything, it's just more of a sign that, you know what, you just need to work harder, put your head down, and figure out how to get their attention in a different way.
And before we go on to Don't Eat My Candle, I have to ask, did you get any kind of response when you were sending these little gifts and trinkets to the buyer from Nordstrom?
When she finally agreed to take a call with me, she acknowledged all of them. but
But in the meantime,
no, because I guess if she responds to me saying, hey, thanks for the shoe, then she'd also have to, get on a call with me. So
all right, let's flip over to Don't Eat My Candle, because basically you have just replicated pretty much the same thing that you just did and put it into another brand. So first of all, at what point did you go, you know what, KURVWEAR, not busy enough, I should go and start another business?
Oh, that was definitely not the thought process. KURVWEAR was very busy, and that was exactly when I started the business. So it kind of, how it panned out, and the mission behind Don't Eat My Candle is to create like a whimsical world where adults can just have fun and just be kids again. And it actually, the idea, the concept, or even how it all started was probably last year when we did our first Illusion Wear launch. And at the time, like, everything was going amazing with KURVWEAR, but I just felt so burnt out and just empty, because every day just looked like work, eat, sleep, And there was nothing fulfilling or joyous or anything in my life. And I found myself going back and watching Hannah Montana reruns, or like rewatching the entire series, or Nickelodeon, or
I hear you. I do the HGTV thing. I just like, let me just watch people renovate houses. I know it's going to end well.
yeah. So I think there was a part of me that was so desperate to connect with my inner child in a way, because yes, like so far with KURVWEAR, with everything, business kind of took off when I was fairly young in comparison. And so I didn't have specific, I had to grow up pretty quickly, not just in terms of a business sense, but even prior to that, I had to grow up pretty quickly. And I got to a point last year, I think it was in about October, where I was just watching TV. I was just really burnt out. I was going back to Nickelodeon, Disney Channel reruns and just watching those, and glass of wine in my hand after every night. And then, yeah, and then I thought, and I had a candle burning, and then I'm the kind of person who also likes arts and crafts. Like, I need to be able to do something creative. That's
I
why
feel like
I
we've
love,
gathered that.
yeah, I love like creative things. I like to do, I don't know, play with Play-Doh or play with clay or make pottery stuff, just paint, draw something. Like, I need to have some sort of creativity within my day in order for me to feel fulfilled. Like, when we talk about our purpose, or like, I think that's a conversation that always comes up. What's our purpose? I think my purpose is to truly just be able to create and just be creative. That's all I really want to do. And so I started playing with Play-Doh, I started playing with clay, and then that turned into like making candles, because I just enjoyed having a candle on my coffee table while I was drinking my wine and watching Hannah Montana. So that turned into, oh, I love drinks. Like, I love cocktails. I love making cocktails. I love candles. Why
Let's
not?
mix them together.
Let's put them together.
And so, like the name I was going to say, like the name suggests, Don't Eat My Candle are candles that look like real food.
Yeah. So all the candles look like the concept is we make food and drink looking candles hyper realistic, but don't eat it. The tagline's very, I probably shouldn't say it, but
You can say it.
so it's just like the tagline is don't effing eat it, which essentially encapsulates the entire idea of the brand. Because when you look at the branding, it's very playful, it's very fun. It's, childlike colors, your baby blue, bright yellow, cartoons everywhere. That's the concept and branding. But then when you go into the actual product and the business end of it, it is pretty serious. But it's just like a whimsical world where adults like me and you, we can go to after a long day and just, we see it on our coffee tables and we think, today wasn't that bad. Like, this was pretty fun.
And again, I feel like this is you just underrating everything that you do, because you're already busy with a rising brand that is selling internationally, and now you start Don't Eat My Candle. At what point do you go, I should sell these? And then what were the next steps after that?
It wasn't necessarily, I think with both brands, it wasn't necessarily a point where I'm like, I'm going to turn this into a business. It was more so I saw it, I liked it, I made it. And then I was like, I wanted to give some to my family and my friends and things like that. And then, and then after that, I realized how much joy it was bringing me. And then after that, before I even decided I wanted it to be a business, I just made the branding. I just wanted to turn myself into a cartoon and, do all these things. It was really a passion project. I got the illustrators. I was having fun, like turning myself into a cartoon, building the brand kits. Because again, it's been a couple of years since I did all of this groundwork with brand kits or web or all these things. And I was just having fun with it. And then after we had about 10 units in stock.
Were you making these yourself, or did you go to a candle manufacturer?
So initially, when I was just doing it for fun at night, that was when I was making it myself. But after that, like, as I realized, oh, this is kind of cool, then yes, we went into manufacturing and I sorted out the entire production system. But
I sorted out, see, again, just a gloss over, I sorted out the entire production system. But at some point deep inside, you obviously went, this thing has legs. This thing has the ability to do something. Because you don't go out to find a production facility just to make some candles for your friends.
yeah, definitely not. I think the point where I realized it has legs is when the branding came together and when I was just having fun with the branding. Because when you look at KURVWEAR and Don't Eat My Candle as two separate entities, they're complete opposites of each other. Like, this is, I guess, my personality when I'm doing channels and events and speaking to even like you, doing this podcast. And then there's this other side of my personality that people don't necessarily see. And I guess the brand and building the brand was my way of connecting with that part of me a little bit more. So
I'm seeing the similarities though. I'm seeing that both of these came from a need that you saw or a problem that you wanted to solve. And both of them were brands that you kind of built yourself because you wanted to rather than because you had to. Like no one made you do this. No one said, if this doesn't get made, you aren't going to survive. It's all of these came from a genuine need to make other people happy and to bring joy to other people's lives. Okay, let's just skip back to the fact that you've now found a candle manufacturer. You've gotten some made. What happens next?
So after I had some made, bear in mind, like the entire process was from October odd till March-ish. So that's about 9 months, just kind of working behind the scenes. And I sent out a bunch of samples when I say bunch, I just mean 3. I sent out 3 samples to influencers that I liked. And it was purely just influencers that, I like watching their content, or I look up to them, or I just appreciate them. And I think that, maybe their lives, like I can connect to them in some way, shape or form, whether they're really busy or I relate to them in terms of KURVWEAR, where I'm just completely flat out. However, I sent them a couple samples and one of the influencers reached back out and she was like, "This is incredible. Can we make a custom candle for me? I want to sell it, blah, blah, blah." And it was completely organic. She just liked the product so much and she was like, "I want to share this with my audience." Now, this influencer has about over 1 million followers on TikTok. She's got a pretty loyal fan base across TikTok. So she reached out and she wanted this done. And I put everything aside and then I just worked day and night. Because at the time, we also didn't have any team for Don't Eat My Candle. It was all just me. So from product development to getting the scent sorted, packaging, branding, every single aspect of that was end-to-end custom and I did it all. And yeah, within a month, I had from product development to final iteration to samples to it landing on her doorstep, everything done. And yeah, and then so with that, we also launched the brand and that was on May 4th. May 4th, Don't Eat My Candle went live, which is just over 60 days ago.
Yes.
And since then, after that, I did the panel with you at the event. And through that, I met Kieran and from the Woolworths marketplace. And he was like, well, I had a chat with him and then I asked him, "Hey, just by any chance I could speak to your buying team, any chance?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he put me in touch with them, went through my entire pitch deck, retail pitch deck, and got into my deal. That was our first one. And then after that, just honestly, it's just been a bunch of any chance you could put me in touch with, any chance, like that kind of networking and using the people that I have, I guess, around me and seeing how we can get more visibility through the product and the brand.
And now you've just also been picked up by Australia's largest pharmacy chain and another chain as well, haven't you?
Yeah, the Iconic. So these two we're still onboarding. So we've signed the contracts for them, but I haven't, like, we're not live yet, is what I'm trying to say. We're still onboarding. The process for that is about 4 weeks, so it's going to be a while. Yeah.
But in 60 days, you went from a brand that literally launched all the way through to being stocked in 3 of Australia's largest channels, which is absolutely phenomenal and a testament to not only all the work that you do, but just the fact that you clearly understand what the market wants. I'm going to go back and talk about, you were saying you feel like a lot of this is luck. I don't think it is. Like, surely there is an element of luck, but you have put yourself in places and positions that have opened up those doors for you. So one of those positions is when you mentioned the panel, it was a panel that we did on platform economics, which sounds so, it was platform economics and AI, or I can't remember which one it was. Was it AI?
It was about fulfillment and scaling operations globally through agile logistics, through the logistics as well.
A whole bunch of corporate-y words. And you're just like when they asked me to do it, I'm like, are these my people? And I remember Nora said to me, they're like, we need someone with a bit of spice to host the panel. And I was like, well, I'm your lady. And it was fantastic. But what I'm saying is most people in your position aren't even at events like that. They're not putting themselves out there. They're not putting themselves in the room. And I guess I get a little bit frustrated when brands say to me, "Oh, we're not getting any traction." And then you come along and you're like, "Hey, I'm just here to say hello and, listen to what people are saying and have some free food and, if something comes out of it, that's fantastic." And as a result, I'm not going to say the naivety, but as a result of just that, the fact that you are just so happy to be in that space, I think people naturally gravitate to you and they want to know more about what it is you do.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think okay, so with any entrepreneurship, I think it does to an extent come down to luck. I think every entrepreneur is lucky in some way, shape, or form. It's not, I can't sit here and put it all down to strategy. There is, yes, that's a massive part in it, but we're all lucky. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do what we love, Anyone who loves what they do in life, they're lucky too. So when I say it comes down to luck, that's more so what I'm referring to, which is I'm so blessed to be able to live this life and I would never take it for granted. Now, what you mentioned about, being in these rooms and having the opportunity to speak at these events or anything like that. Now, it kind of, I guess from the outside looking in, I can see how it looks very just like, oh, I'm happy to show up and just kind of, again, luck. But it is 5 years in the making.
Yeah. Let's not forget that. Well, might eat my candle, not so much, but KURVWEAR, definitely.
I mean, they're both interconnected in a sense because all the things that I did in groundwork for KURVWEAR is exactly why Don't Eat My Candle could do and have the traction that it did in the 60 days. Because I learned so many things, I made mistakes, I connected with people, and for me, relationship building is so much more important than actual, transactions. I think if you focus on building relationships and you focus on, connecting with the right people and adding value to other people and seeing how you can support other people and putting them first before yourself or even before, I guess, revenue, bottom line, then you're going to get so much far in the long run as opposed to just focusing on your numbers. So if I get like I had a really exciting email come through the other day because for the past, 9 months since I started working on Don't Eat My Candle, a part of the revenue that I wanted to, or stream of revenue that I really wanted to build out and thought was very valuable was corporate gifting. I thought that would be an incredible opportunity to get the brand out there in more of like a serious setting and corporate setting because through corporate gifting, being part of the rooms that I am a part of, I get a lot of gifts, but a lot of the gifts that I get, they're like pens, drinks, book.
It's just junk, isn't it?
Yeah, and it all ends up in like some sort of corner in some cupboard. And so one of the pieces that I really wanted to build out was having Don't Eat My Candle be able to specialize and create corporate gifting for companies so that at that point, if you're giving someone a candle that literally looks like a cocktail, you're more likely to get that shelf space or coffee table space on their coffee table. Therefore, this client is going to look at you and look at your branding every single time they watch TV. And you can't get more front of mind than that. So that corporate gifting element is something that I've been really trying and wanting to build out. And I've tried for months and months and months. But now, like, I got an email from an incredible company and they want to do some corporate gifting. They want to trial it out, see what happens, which again, when it came to, I was like, oh my God, finally, because this is what I've been waiting. Like I've been trying and trying and trying, finally. And yeah, so that came through. And even if, for example, back to relationship building is what I wanted to bring this example up for, even if their order quantity isn't necessarily how much I expect or as per my minimums, I'm still going to do it and take that cut out of my profit or take that cut out of me. Even if I break even, I'm happy because guess what? They'll love the product, they'll love the service, and they'll come back. And next time they come back, they're going to have a much bigger order for me. And also all the clients that they're putting the gift in front of, they're also potential clients of mine. So it's a very strategic play and kind of investing in more of the long term of the business as opposed to looking at day-to-day profit loss, like, oh my God, I made this much money, I didn't make this much money. And so much more than that.
What I like about that too is just like you just mentioned, the exponential follow on from there is corporate gifts generally go to corporate clients. And so having that on the CEO of somebody else's company is, and then, people comment on it. So the exponential follow through that you get, or the leverage, the brand exposure that you get as a result is very, very strategic. But also what you tend to find in corporate gifting is they don't buy 20. Like corporate gifting tends to be in, 50, 100, 200, 500, 1,000. And so again, you have this ability to be able to, create something specific because you will reach an MOQ with a supplier because of the amount, the volume that they're particularly ordering. So there are so many things you've done right along here that I wanted people to hear your story because you kind of, not that you stumbled across them, but you have done so many things right that have led to this cumulative effect, which got you to the point where you could launch a brand and be in stores within 60 days, not with venture capital, not with a huge PR firm behind you, but literally just being in the room and having the conversations and building the relationships.
Yeah, being in the room, that definitely does help. But I think there's so many people that are in the room. And for years and years, for the past, I guess, 4 years, 3 years, however many years, like I have still attended these events, but I didn't really have as much to give to others. So I think it also I'm not entirely sure. I can't pinpoint it down to one thing or the other, or I wouldn't say being just in the room. I think it's a cumulative thing where you have to have the brand, you have to have the product, you have to have the advantage of why someone would want to work with you. You have to be a good person that people actually want to work with. You have to.
That goes such a long way.
And you have to, I guess, there's so many, you have to basically have that entire business element side because, again, no one wants to work with someone who doesn't have that sorted out because it'll impact their business. You have to have that. You have to have the relationship building. You have to, I don't know, just be able to connect with people. It comes down to all of that, but also more than anything, creativity. Because even with Don't Eat My Candle, and even though we got into 3 retailers in 60 days, I still have gotten no's. And those no's, I'm doing my same creative, like just trying to get their attention, smother them over in some way, shape, or form. That's still the strategy. You're always going to get no's, but it's not about just taking that no for it's a definite no for life. It's just more so, okay, we'll see. Like, okay, you want me to show you something? You want me to show you traction? What do you need from me? You need more SKUs? Done. Here you go. You need more, I don't know, you need more traction, you need more proof of sales, here you go. Can we negotiate? Just kind of finding a way where you can somehow just get them to at least dip their toe in the water, even if it's like a pop-up or, I don't know, like giving it to them for dirt cheap so that they have no option but to say yes. Like whatever it is, thinking long-term and thinking, okay, how can this impact the business 10 years from now, 5 years from now, rather than just looking at how much money are we making today? Because it doesn't, I don't know, that's at least how I think.
I was going to ask you for what advice would you give to people who are either starting out or were thinking about taking their brand, but I think you just gave it to us. I think you just laid everything out and said, these are my tips if you want to grow a sustainable brand and really build those relationships with people who are going to stock your products. I think that's the perfect place to finish up. If people want to see what KURVWEAR is, which is amazing, my friends, I have curves, so not necessarily something I need, but something I literally looked at and went, I can see the potential for this to be a global phenomenon, which I don't say very often, and Don't Eat My Candle, which again, it's such a fun niche thing that people can't help but smile when they see them. So where can we find your brands if we're interested in maybe stocking them or buying them?
Just online, websites, KURVWEAR.com, don'teatmycandle.com. But also you can reach out to Would you be putting my contact information in the description or something? Emails, something like that?
It's up to you. What do you want? Do you want them just to reach out to you on LinkedIn or through the website?
Fine. If you guys do want to stock or work with KURVWEAR, don't need my candle. Message me on LinkedIn, Alisha Athreya. And yeah, look forward to hearing from you, working with you.
All right. Alisha, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Selena. I really appreciate it.
So that's a wrap. I'd love to hear what insight you've gotten from this episode and how you're going to put it into action. If you're a social kind of person, follow me at @TheSelenaKnight and make sure to leave a comment and let me know. And if this episode made you think a little bit differently, or gave you some inspiration, or perhaps gave you the kick that you needed to take action, then please take a couple of minutes to leave me a review on your platform of choice. Because the more reviews the show gets, the more independent retail and e-commerce stores just like yours that we can help to scale. And when that happens, it's a win for you, a win for your community, and a win for your customers. I'll see you on the next episode.